Greetings to you wherever you are under the sound of my voice. Of course, this is a brand new edition of the Pan-African Drive that comes with on Teledar TV. And the Pan-African Drive happens to be the platform that is meant to inspire and motivate the current generation of young Africans in the actualization of their respective dreams and preaching the message of peace and national unity. As well as revitalizing the Africanization policy that speaks about good governance, social justice, democracy, human rights, and most importantly, the African unity. And for tonight's edition of the Pan-African Drive, we are super honored, should I say very privileged, to have a passenger with us on this drive. And she happens to be Satan Mahmoud Doumbouya, who has climbed an enviable height in her career ladder. She's involved in youth engagement and women empowerment across the nation, not just across the nation, but outside the shores of the nation state, the Gambia. And she's here tonight to add her own quota on this very platform. Or should I say, welcome to this platform. We're super honored to have you, Satan.
Thank you so much, Miguel. It's actually a pleasure to be here. And thank you for the introduction.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. Quickly, just when we share the publicity aspect of this very edition of the Pan-African Drive, almost everyone who came across the flyers spoke highly of you in terms of your involvement of young people in your contribution and so to speak. Can you just drive us through the historicity of your involvement of young people, women and so to speak? Where does it come from? Well,
I believe it came from maybe my family, because I grew up in a family where it's mostly women. My father happened to be the only male child of his dad. The others were all female. And luckily for him, he also had 4 girls before he had any boys. So we grew up to be teenagers before we even had brothers. I literally took care of all my younger siblings. They look at me like I'm their mom. So I grew up in a family where everybody is treated equally, male or female, all views are respected, young or old. That was how our dad trained us. And I was lucky to have 2 elder sisters who I would like to give shout outs to, Aissatou Doumbouya and Mariama Doumbouya, and they were so amazing. They were members of an organization called Children for Children organization. And they happened to mentor me through the process. So going to school, I went to big schools like St. Teresa's Upper Basic, St. Teresa's Primary, and Nusrat Senior Secondary Schools. These are very popular schools, but also largely populated schools here in the Gambia, which I happened to attend. And I got a lot of mentorship from my teachers, from other young people who maybe were our seniors at the time. When I was in St. Teresa's Primary, I started writing. And I used to call myself the first female Secretary General of the United Nations. I used to write that on my backpack. You know, I still have Seth Matijao. Thank you to him as well, was one of my mentors, and he still calls me SG. So growing up, I had the right mentorship. I had the right people beside me. They were able to notice the talent and the skills that I had at an early stage. I had the late Abdou Jata, who recruited a lot of us, my friends, Adam Ali, Absa Samba, myself, and many other young people when we were part of the Young People in the Media organization, which is still active and running even after his death. Wow. We were also part of an organization called NAPSA, and NAPSA was just opposite St. Teresa's Junior School. Okay. So we had the opportunity to go there like every day. We had magazines to read, we had books to read, we had events to plan. You know, we conduct symposiums at that early stage. We conducted symposiums. We started talking about corporal punishment. We started talking about child's right, child's marriage, you know, and many other things that were children related at the time because we were children. So I participated a lot in the International Children's Day of Broadcasting. I used to do media talk shows like this. Okay. And then there was a little shift when I went to high school. I was also the president of the Children Advocacy Network, which was headed by Ibrahim. And then I got a lot of training from there. Whilst I was also in school, junior school, I got also a lot of capacity building trainings because head teachers, principal, and even classroom teachers were able to recognize my skills early and they were able to give me the right mentorship. I also had a unique opportunity to join the Peace Ambassadors Camp, the youth camp. I think the first camp I joined was in Brikama and then Bansang, and it was a unique opportunity for me. It crafted or designed my skills, it designed my opportunities also designed who I am today a lot. We had the likes of Fabakari Kale, Lamin Sanyang, Yankoba. They were all there. Our Bite, they did amazingly well for my like. And when I went to high school, Nusrat Senior Secondary School, no brag intended, but Nusrat is an amazing school, and it helps students focus on their skills and their talents. I had seniors like Kemo Fati, I had Aji, a lot of seniors that were also in drama, poetry. I had my mates like MJ, Fati, and the others, and we were involved in a lot of things. We were also helping each other, mentor each other, I can say. We did a lot of drama competitions, we did a lot of poetry competitions, and we participated a lot in a lot of events outside school. So Nusrat also gave us a chance not just to focus on our books, but also develop our skills and prepare ourselves for the future. Okay. So I went through a lot of process, from family to schools, to organizations, civil society, to individuals I just randomly meet, and they appreciate who I am and what I do. It's a lot of things. Okay, so compounded, they shaped who I am today, why I am today, and what I am currently doing. So with regards to gender activism, that is child activism and youth activism. With regards to gender activism, I think that came up natural, knowing that, in my family, everybody's treated equal, male or female. Yeah. So looking at society in general, I found that there were a lot of discrimination and stigma attached to women, and even to men to some extent. So I decided to also join the crusade, talk about it, fight against it. And I had an opportunity to work with the Network Against Gender-Based Violence for almost 4 years as advocacy and campaign officer, talking about women's rights, driving advocacy plans, campaign plans, working with policymakers, lawmakers, and that also was an amazing part of my journey. Just to summarize, there are a lot of things that came together to build who I am today, to make me where I am, and there are things that when I look back, I really am grateful for the opportunities and for the wonderful people that have come to my life throughout all these years.
That's a great one, dear. From me, for those of you that are watching us, the diaspora followers of Teledar TV will say a massive thank you to you. Without your support, there is no Teledar TV, and those nationally supporting us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. We appreciate the support. And to West Africans, especially the Nigerians in Yoruba land, will say, that's thank you so very much for your support too. The Igbos in the eastern part of Nigeria will say to you, one name the number. Strengthening all of you, wherever you are, under the sound of our voices here tonight. And to the northern part of Nigeria, that is dominantly Islamic, will say, Assalamu alaikum. To the Liberian people, Ipela will say, Kasai, Adama, Kaplafonka, and Kajir. To the Sierra Leonean people that say to you, Unakusheo, of course. To French-speaking nations who say, merci de vous supporter. To the Southern African people, that KwaZulu-Natal will say to you, Sanibunani Nzanzi, Gaya Nembengelela. To Botswana, to my friend Constantino Peloteri, I say to you, Readable Helabo, LinkedIn Jahahu. To the Fullers in the game, I say to you, Hirijan Masude, Nalaga. And on the other hand, I say to you, Jamton, Meedima Moja. To the Manjago, I say to you, Mangalo, Bold. To the Mandinga will say, Abarkabaki, to the world will say, Jerejef, Tomanamona Fati. We won't ever forget it for your support. And all other Africans, whether they are to the Ghanaians who say, Apo, man. This is your Pan-African Drive, a platform meant to build bridges between and amongst African. Quickly, you are heading a very important institution in the Gambia as chairperson of the National Youth Council. If you drove around the Tavern area, you will see young people standing and sleeping, not ceremoniously, but sleep that is traced to being induced by either the kush or other drugs, so to speak. If you visited the beaches, you're going to see young people that have crafted a career for themselves called a bombsing. At a worst scenario, you check the deserts of a Niger Republic or Chad, and so to speak, young people are dying in the desert, and they're dying at the high sea on their way out of the continent of Africa in search for a better life. As a head of the institution, as a chairperson of the National Council, what affirmative measures or actions, so to speak, or legislation that are put in place, that mechanism to ensure that the lives of these young people are revived, not only revived, but that they are included in the society and meaningfully contribute their own quota in the attainment of our national development objectives? What do you have in stock for them?
Well, first of all, it's very sad when we see young people go through some of these phases. For some people will say it's normal. Someone has to learn a lesson to become someone. For us as young people, it's not normal, and our issues need to be taken seriously. It may interest you to know that at the National Youth Council, we have a migration officer.
Yeah.
And this, we work closely with the International Organization for Migration, and our focus is basically young people, because the National Youth Council focuses on the young people. And we are driven to see that young people take regular routes compared to irregular routes, because we're losing a lot of young people, losing a lot of potentials as well. But the government has just introduced a regular route to travel. But what happened is, out of 49 people, only 6 people were able to come back home. All the 41 stayed back. And what is going to happen is, this is going to ruin opportunities for our young people to go and experience life outside, make money, and come back and build their homes. So secondly, there are a lot of initiatives that the National Youth Council takes that involves young people. The National Youth Council has regional structures, and these regional structures implement a lot of programs. This includes skills building programs or capacity building programs. And the National Youth Council works closely with organizations such as the International Organization for Migration, works with skills development institutions, for example, GAIPA, NEDI, the National Enterprise Development Initiative. It also works with organizations like Giraffe, Roots, and so on. And these are organizations that are here to help young people build their skills, but also lay down the foundation for young people to start business or generate income, for example, using ITC as an area. Well, what happens is, there is a lot of argument on whether what they are giving is sufficient or not. It's a startup for young people to start something. And we encourage young people to come out in their large numbers and make great opportunities or great use of these organizations. Because it saddens all of us, including yourself and I, to see young people maybe being frustrated or getting into negative things that will not only hinder them, but will also disturb our society. Because in my local language, we say, whenever something is spoiled, for example, a potato in a bag, that potato may be spoiled, but what's going to happen if you don't take care of that potato or remove it? It's going to affect other potatoes. So this is what happens if young people are not taken good care of. And the National Youth Council is trying its best to ensure that young people's voices are being represented, because it's the liaison office between the government and the young people. But interestingly, we also have the National Youth Conference and Festival every 2 years, where we bring representatives from every region. And we have a very important component called the conference component. And we brought about the component of the conference so we can teach young people about these thematic areas. For example, we have a thematic area on skills and training. We have a thematic area on entrepreneurship. We have another on migration, gender, and the likes go on. So the reason why we have this conference is to teach these young people or to build their skills or understanding about these areas, but also to ensure that we bring right representatives. For example, government officials, for example, institution heads, agencies, and so on, so that they can converse with these young people. And after these conversations and after the whole NACF, we come up with some things called recommendations. And these recommendations are supposed to be implemented by the National Youth Council, by the government, and other agencies that it may concern. So this is to ensure that youth voices are being represented. So the conference is basically bringing young people to learn from each other, all diverse regions, to learn Banjul, to learn from KM to learn from Banjul, West Coast, and all the others, but to also build connections. Because, for example, there are certain opportunities here that may not be in Basse or Bansang and so on. How do we ensure that we build a strong network of young people?
I was going to ask you, how decentralized are your engagements? Because most of the time, attentions are paid to the urban areas, but you have the young men and women are in the places like Kiamando, Alatentu, Fonyin, Bondali, and Badibu, and other communities, remote communities, Marakisa, so to speak. So how do your engagements have positive trickle-down effect on these young people? Because mind you, it is their inalienable right to benefit out of the policies, because they are Gambians, so to speak. So how do your engagements actually influence them positively?
Yeah, so I mentioned that we have regional structures at NYC. So there's a chairperson and all these structures that are needed for the NYC to run. So the regional structures carry out a lot of trainings. Even the national structure, the secretariat, carries out a lot of skills building trainings and a lot of engagements within the region. You'll be surprised to know that most of the engagements are not even within the Combo or Combo St. Mary area. It's always in the regional district. But also all the partners that we are working with, especially with the side of entrepreneurship, they mostly focus on areas like NBR, CRR, URR, and so on. Most of these organizations now, with regards to giving grants and so on, agribusiness and stuff, they're not even focused on Combo, on KM, because the notion is most opportunities are based in the urban area compared to the rural area. So now a lot of focus, there's a lot of dynamic shift on how do we now focus on the rural end. Because if you look at migration, the Badibu end that you mentioned, right now you go to Badibu, you don't see a lot of young people, because most of them have taken the route to Bakwe, trying to find better means for their families, because opportunities do not get to them. And this is seen, is already known, and this is why organizations and even the NYC is moving dynamics, ensuring that young people are being involved actively in decision-making processes and also given the chance to participate in national discourse.
That's a very great one there. That is Satan tonight with you on the Pan-African Drive as my passenger, as we speak about the importance, should I say, young people serving as pillars for national and continental security. All of the engagement you are involved into today, people have been there before. Back in 1979 in South Africa, we had a young man, Solomon Kalushi Malangu. He died at age 22, 1979, April 6, fighting for the liberty, the independence, and survivability of all black South Africans. And on the date of his assassination, he wasn't frustrated, he wasn't disappointed or sad. He knew that was the right cause. And his last words before his death, he says that my blood must be used to nourish the tree that will bear the fruit of African liberty. Tell my people that I love them, and we must continue the fight. It begs the question, to what extent that contemporary youths of the African society are ready to catalyze such energy, ensuring that their nations, and by extension our one continent, is safe and secure, that they rise from the state of dormancy and become the drivers of the destiny and protecting this continent from what the dependency syndrome that we have been reading of for donkey years. Do we have the zest and quest to change the negative paradigm shift?
We definitely do have the zest. I think I always say this, that the problem of Africa is not capacity.
Okay.
We have the potential, the young people have the capacity, but the problem is the opportunities. For example, Africa generally, we have a problem of gerontocracy. We have older people in positions refusing to leave those positions for the younger people. Let's draw ourselves back to Gambia. There are people that have graduated from university years ago, and they're still jobless. And the jobs are there, but they are being filled sometimes. Some time ago, we had the issue of ghost workers, okay, right? How is that possible in a small country like you experience it in Liberia as well? How is that possible in our small countries when there are other young people who have graduated from university without jobs? And this is why we still complain about brain drain, because what's going to happen if they have the opportunity to leave the country, they are going to stay there. Yeah. They don't come back. I've been to the Mandela Washington Fellowship, and I've been with people that refuse to go back home. Why? Because they feel like there are no opportunities for them back home. They should just stay. And within us, we managed to convince each other, let's just go back. Let's just go back. There are going to be opportunities that will come for you. And then we happen to go back. But to be honest with you, a lot of young people are lost here in the Gambia because of these issues. But just to say, Gambia or Africa in general do not have a problem of capacity. There is a problem of opportunities because young people do not feel empowered in Africa. Let's go down to Gambia again. We form more than half of the country's population. But still, you talk to young people, they have like grudges, they have sentiments that they want to talk about, they have concerns that they want to talk about with regards to the country. I've seen a lot of young people who are driving this country. This country cannot move without young people, to be honest with you. Now with the Gen Zs, with technology, with everything coming up, Gambia needs to embrace more of young people. And we're seeing dynamics changing, maybe bit by bit. We've seen young people being employed in key positions that in the past years, we've never seen young people in positions like that. It's changing bit by bit, but you know, young people were always hasty. We want everything to go like this. And we wish it will go like this. We want to have more positions. We want to use our creativity. Young people are creative, young people are energetic. And this is not just by word of saying, this is natural. It's also created by God, that young people are more energetic, young people are more creative, we're more enthusiastic. You know, we have capacity. We do not lack the capacity. And in the Gambia, in Senegal, and in every other country, you find the likes of the late Solomon that you mentioned. There are a lot of them in Africa. Young people are not afraid to take up the civic space to stand for their responsibilities, to also defend their countries. In the Gambia, there was not much of an open civic space, especially in the past regime. We had people being arrested, unlawful arrest and detention. We had some people being tortured. Let's talk about the late Solo Sandeng, who took up to the streets on his own.
Continue to rest in peace.
Amen. So these were things, and these are people that also paved the way for our democracy. They shined people's eyes, and we decided we don't want no more of this. We want something different. And now we also have young people still taking up the streets, still being bold to speak about things, still not, they don't mind to put their life on the line for the freedom of others. Just to tell you, for a country to be free, it must spill blood. We've seen it across Africa. It's nothing new. All African countries have fought for their freedom. And when we say fought for their freedom, we also mean physical fighting. And a lot of our African young men and women passed away so that they can give freedom to other people, so that they can instill that energy and that change in people. And it was possible. It was possible in the Gambia here when Solo Sandeng and the others took up the street. And it's possible in other African countries. And it goes to tell you that now our civic space is freer. People can say things. People can hold the government to account. And we've seen government even taking steps when people hold them to account. Let's take, for example, the Gala protest about the looted assets of the President Jammeh. What happened? The government listened, and the government initiated a commission. And this commission is looking into these assets, the sale of assets, what happened, you know, questioning. And I know you are following it on their different hearings that they're having. So this goes to say that young people still have the voice. Young people can hold the government accountable. Young people are creative, energetic, and they are the drivers of this country.
You've got a very massive following, so to speak. And you mentioned a term like physical fight, so to speak. A lot of young people are listening to you. They might decode your message or encode it in a very different manner. And somebody says that when muscle appears in manifestation, wisdom is absent. Don't you think it is important to have dialogue and not confrontation? We can have the conversation, we can write petition in a well-bred manner and not the physical aspect of things that you just said. Because mind you, words are sharper than bullets. Somebody's listening to you might say, oh, she says,
physical fight.
How do you reconcile?
Let me take you back to what I said. When I said physical fight, I was talking about how freedom fighters of Africa fought. Okay. That they didn't just fight by the pen, words, yeah, but they also fought physically. And this is why we lost people like Solomon. We lost people like Solo Sandeng. We lost others and others because they didn't just sit in their rooms and write petitions and so on. They took the streets. They were there physically to show their distress, to show that they are dissatisfied by the system that rules them. And unfortunately, we happen to lose most of those heroes. This is what I was explaining. But of course, as a young person, I would always promote diplomacy. You've studied diplomacy and you know better. These tactics work. I mean, we have to invest in solutions before we get to the last bit of it. Being physical is definitely not it, because when it happens, our country is going to be unstable, women are going to be at risk, children are going to be at risk, our properties, our lives are going to be at risk. So we first of all start with the diplomatic means by sending petitions, you know, by drawing, position papers. You know, when the Constitution from the CRC came out and before it was brought to the National Assembly for review, civil society organizations, youth groups, individuals and technocrats were allowed to write position papers, to give their opinions about it. And this is what we believe can move a country. It's not always fighting physically. It's about how do we use our mind, how do we use our creativity, but also peaceful mechanisms to converse, to dialogue, but also to create change. Because we don't want to just dialogue, and every day we are sitting at this round table and, okay, this is what I think, and nothing comes out of it. We want dialogue that is going to bring solutions. And this is what young people are investing in, having dialogues. And if you look at the gala protest, you see that the NYC is having some kind of interception, negotiation between the young people, the government, ensuring that the young people that were jailed were released, ensuring that these people understood what was going on. You know, like its mandate is to be a liaison between the government and the young people. And this was exactly what we saw the National Youth Council doing, as expected.
That's very great to hear from my guest here tonight. I hope you're enjoying the drive with my passenger here tonight, Satang Doumbouya Mahmoud. She's very strong, and then offering her expertise on the Pan-African Drive here, like we say, this is a platform meant to build bridges between and amongst Africa, should I say Africans. And it is important that we note that it is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. That's why young people are the target tonight, because an Africa that is expected to compete with other civilizations, we must start to build our young people's capacity if we expect to compete. Heidi, you head in the National Youth Council as chairperson. Of course, I'm very confident that there are collaborating partners outside the shores of the Gambia, like the Pan-African Youth Union. What are the legislation or policies in place to ensure that young people seize the opportunity to revive their nations? Because Africa is sinking in almost every ramification, from leadership, from infrastructure development, and governance, and health, education, security, peace, so to speak. And if you visit the rest of Africa, we've been shaking all over the place. Liberia has shaken for 14 years, Sierra Leone, 11 years civil war, Guinea-Bissau was shaking almost every time, Cameroon, Nigeria still shaking. What are the policies at that level of the Pan-African Youth Union in terms of mechanism put in place for the revivability of this continent? What do you have in store?
So the Pan-African Youth Union is actually promoting youth leadership. So it's focused on youth unions in countries. And it's also building and introducing youth union across countries in Africa. And this is because there is hope that young people can rule Africa if given the chance. I am a firm believer that no decision, there is no meaningful decision that can take place, or no meaningful development, without the active involvement and participation of young people in decision-making processes. I believe that at every level, at every table, young people must be given the space. And this is what the Pan-African Youth Union believes in. And what the Pan-African Youth Union does is push National Youth Council or National Youth Unions to ensure that we are given the chance, the recognition, and also the opportunity to be part of decision-making processes. So the Pan-African Youth Union is also part and embedded in the African Union, and it gets its credibility from these organizations. The Pan-African Youth Union organizes a lot of events which involves young people, and this is all about reviving or introducing the issue of youth leadership, but also making our leaders understand that youth leadership is not just, how do I say, by the way, it's a necessity. As the generation grows, as time passes, young people must be given the chance to invest in decision-making processes and participate meaningfully towards national discourse. And this is the brain behind Pan-African Youth Union.
That's a great one. If you have to project for young people, where do you see young people? Because if you do a survey now, Cameroon, almost 94 years old, of Paul Biya. Liberia, Joseph Nyamubuaga, almost close to 80 years, if not 80 years. Tinubu of Nigeria, then the list goes on and on. That's elderly people just all over the place, leading these nations. It's like we're using analog for digital problem, analog solution for digital problem, which is a square peg in a round hole. Right. How ready are we? Do we have the right arsenal in place as young people to changing the negative paradigm shift of this continent? Are you very confident about it?
I'm confident. Although maybe from what we may see from social media and places will show just a few, but there are a lot of African young people moving dynamics. Let's look at the Gambia here. We have a lot of young people changing dynamics, moving situations. We have young people taking up to politics, showing their interest, showing that they're ready to rule this country. And we've seen in Senegal, even in the Gambia here, let's look at robotics. There is this competition that Kausu Jawi is actually leading, and Gambia is always winning. But I think the Gambia, we're not very good at putting our young people in the limelight. In Senegal, young people's successes are usually very much celebrated. Okay. Like I always said, there are people that I was in the same class with who were the top of the class, aggregate 6 every term. Today, some of them are jobless. That will not happen in Senegal. The best graduating student would have a job from that time. Until, in fact, he will have scholarship or she will have scholarship all the way to university, all the way to masters. But that doesn't happen here in the Gambia. Most students are faced with financial challenges. And we like it or not, education is the key.
I love that. We like it or not, education is the key. That's why we're going to stop right on and have our breaking, after which we return and then continue with this drive. It's a beautiful experience here with my guests tonight. We'll take our break and come back shortly. Welcome back, welcome back. This is the Pan-African Drive. For those of you watching us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, we appreciate your support. We remain very humble and grateful to your support. Without you, there is no Teledown TV. Of course, this is the only online platform where we speak truth to power. We constructively critique the leadership of the continent in finding the best way forward. I am here tonight with Satang, a young lady who has climbed a very massive height in her career ladder, involved in the lives of our young people and empowering them, so to speak. Back to you here. Your points have been very important. I hope that young people are capturing the key points you mentioned. If you do a survey in this country, during election period, young people are disappointed and frustrated. They don't want to vote, not just in this country, but across Africa. You see low numbers in terms of voter registration. And on election date, the numbers of people that register to vote is even far lesser than those that vote. And that number affects young people massively. What do you have to say to Gambians and, should I say, Africans, young African at large, when it comes to that single vote, how important it is in shaping their respective communities, nations, and the continent at large?
Well, it's very important to vote. And just like you said, a lot of people, not even young people, sometimes even older people, you just meet someone randomly in a vehicle and they're telling you how they're not going to vote in the coming election. Next year is election. The year after is election. And there's still people who are undecided. There's still people who are very sure, like more sure that they would not vote than they would vote. So that is still a challenge. And I always have this discussion with these people. I try to make them understand. But the Gambia still lacks that voter education. Although we have organizations like NYC, we have other organizations, UN agencies investing in voter registration, in voter education, ensuring that people that are voting, they register, people that are of age, they register, and then they vote. Because our democracy is not democracy if we are all not participating. Democracy is not for a group of people. It's for everybody. And people must understand our roles and responsibilities in our democracy. People need to understand that it is for us to safeguard this democracy. And your vote matters. Well, let me just bring you down to an experience that a colleague of mine had when he was contesting for National Assembly elections. He said in their constituency, in his constituency, there are 83 villages. And every village that he goes to, campaigning for the seat of a National Assembly member, guess what young people request for from a National Assembly member, from someone who's vying for a position of a National Assembly member? They ask for football boots and jerseys. Is that the responsibility of the National Assembly member? Is it the responsibility of the National Assembly member to provide you with football jerseys? Someone who's holding, let's say, top office in this country. So this goes to tell you that there are a lot of people that still do not know the importance of voting because they do not know the importance of these positions. If you don't know the importance of these positions, the role that they are playing in shaping your life, in deciding laws that are going to safeguard you, laws that are going to say, act this way, don't act this way. If you don't know the importance, would you know the importance of the card that you are holding? So there are a lot of efforts that are being done, a lot of caravans. I remember during the last election, we had organizations like the National Youth Parliament going through the country, across the country, you know, doing caravans and educating people on voter registration, doing voter sensitization in general. But the numbers sometimes increases, sometimes it decreases. Yeah, so it's difficult to manage that or to understand that. But I think definitely there is need for organizations like my organization, NYC, and other organizations to double up, especially with elections coming, to make people understand why it is important to vote, why not voting is going to be difficult for our democracy to thrive. You know, what our responsibilities are, not only as young people, but citizens of the Gambia. We must understand that citizenship is far apart just having a birth certificate. It entails a lot of other responsibilities, roles that you should play within your society, within your country. I don't just have my birth certificate and say, I'm a Gambian and that's it. That's all you need from the country. Now, what are you going to do for your country? It's something that we must always ask ourselves. Because what happens is these people always sit back and blame the system. Yeah. But they created the system. So it's important that people know that our votes are our rights. And, you know, they determine our future. They determine what we are going to live through in the next 5 years, because election cycle in the Gambia is every 5 years. So 5 years is too long to mess it up for not voting. So I encourage every young person out there, every person, young and old, I encourage you to come out with your large numbers to vote, but also understand who you are voting for. It's important to read manifestos of these politicians, understand that they have our interest in it. 5 years is too long to regret. This is all I have to say to our people.
Yeah, sometimes that's a great one, dear. For me, I had a personal experience when I got here 2011. I met a young man that we even spent time sleeping in the same bedroom when he was still at high school level. And fast forward, he's now a graduate and working, and so to speak. But prior to his work, he currently works with national government in a key position, so to speak. But prior to his work, this is somebody who spoke truth to power. He constructively critiqued the system. He was to have been on this platform here today. The name is unimportant. I'm not going to mention the name. But when I spoke to him, inviting him on this platform, he had a challenge honoring that because, in his words, I now work with government, so I can't be able to sit on your platform and then speak some of these things. And things like this, in the corners of the Central African Republic, it's in Nigeria. We speak, we make these points, we argue, we criticize. Yeah. In fact, criticism remains the most important democratic important tool to overhaul any democratic process. But young people will make all of this noise and shout over the place, forgetting to know that they should be the drivers of the current generation going forward. But once they have been given the amount of authority to serve in one of the capacities, then they are quiet. What do you have to say to young people with two faces of that nature?
You know, we learned in school about checks and balances in democracies. And this is what people should always remember, that even as a person, to your husband, to your wife, you always have checks and balances, even to your parents. What you did, what you said, oh, I like this when you did that, I like this when you said, but when you said this, I thought you could have said it this way. I think you could have done it this way. You know, it's also going to help the person improve. So criticism is just like feedback for me. So you know feedback, you tell the person what they did right, and what you think they did wrong and how they could do better. It is even going to help our government and our leaders do better, to understand our perspectives, to connect with us. But if they're always doing A and we feel like G is what works, but we are quiet, they're always doing A and A is failing.
Because you're benefiting.
Because you're benefiting. Like they say, if you're eating, you don't talk. It's an African proverb. When you're eating, you don't talk. And this is something that does not work for our society. It doesn't work in this time and generation. It doesn't work for our democracy. We need to always put each other into account. I wouldn't call it like, maybe criticism for other people is a negative word. I'll call it accountability. You know, we need to put each other into account, understand that this person, whatever role they are playing, whether in the government or a public institution, it's for my benefit. Even if it doesn't directly benefit me, it may benefit my sister, my brother, my children, you know, and the larger population. So we must always learn to put each other into checks and balances. But also, Gambians, we are not very good in having honest conversations because we're always scared about how would they think about me, you know, the reactions, the opinions from other people. Sometimes someone may even do a wrong thing. We're very fond of this. Someone will dress in a very awkward way and you'll be like, yeah, you're nice, you know, because you want to please this person, but you're not telling this person the truth, that your color looks like rainbow colors. You're not telling them the fact. So it's very important that we build the culture of having honest conversations. And it's even said in our religions, both in Christianity and Islam, that you must speak the truth. The truth will set you free, even if it is against you. So we must learn to put this part of our culture, put this part of our lifestyle, because, and also people must learn to take feedback positively. People must learn to take feedback positively. Because if you are saying something to someone, if they don't take it positively, your whole mission has failed. Because you're saying something, but the person you are saying it to has already covered his or her ear. Is it going to be possible to bring about change? It may not be possible to bring about change. So people must learn to involve ourselves in honest conversations, but people must also learn to accept feedback. Yeah.
That's great. We are on this drive tonight, and I got a passenger here with me who is enjoying the ride already. I'm enjoying it as I drive her too. If you had an opportunity to be seated and offering a few points at the level of the International Youth Parliament, what would be your message? Sound of a voice.
My message is going to be the same, that we empower more young people in decision-making processes, but we empower our civil space, like we protect our civic space. I think the civic space is where, whether young, but mostly young, old, women, children, have the right to speak freely. We may not own the government. We may not own the private sector. So what we have is the balance in between, which is the civic space. So there is importance, or there is necessity to safeguard our civic space, host important and honest conversations, but also align ourselves, align our goals. Because if young people are divided, our civic space is no longer going to be healthy. So we need to be at the same level with each other. Rural youth, urban youth, it really doesn't matter. Disabled youth, able youth, it really doesn't matter. What we need to do is protect our civic space. And the Pan-African Youth Union and other youth unions, whether in the Gambia or outside of the Gambia, should invest in that. Build the capacity of young people, engage young people in meaningful conversations, and protect our civic space.
We're driving close to the end of this conversation. Now, quickly, with all of the lapses we've discussed about young people, deficiency in terms of numbers of voters and their participation in the decision-making processes of their respective communities, nations, and by extension, the continent at large. And then there are also some element of progress of young people's participation in other nations. We see the likes of Bokolo Joy Kene Wending over Botswana, making here with young lady, 38 years, tough ministerial position for donkey years now. And then you look at Mauritius, people that they're making progress, so to speak, projectively, with all of the mixture of successes and failures, lapses here and there, projectively. Where do you look at Africa in the hands of young people in the next 10, 15, 20 years?
I think Botswana has the youngest MP.
Yes.
I met her in Zimbabwe.
This one is doing well. They're doing well.
And I can't remember. Namibia has the youngest minister. I think that should be Namibia. I'm not sure.
3 women at the highest seat in that country, from the presidency to the speakership position. And women.
If you study these countries or these positions that these women are holding, you realize that there's a lot of success that is being made after these people came into office. Yes. Let's not go too far. Let's go to your country, Liberia. What has Ellen Johnson Sirleaf done in the years that she was in power? A lot of things. She was younger. She was more able. You know, she was a woman. And this goes to tell you that young people can do a lot. I said it here. Energy is given to young people, and that's just natural. There's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing I can do about it. Nature cannot counter it because God already created that.
I think Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is a special case as the first female president.
First female president.
She wasn't younger, though.
She wasn't, but she was able.
But she started when she was very young.
Yes, she was
like
able
20, 30,
to.
40 years ago, she started that.
Right.
So I want you to speak your best vernacular right now in guiding young people in terms of advice headed into 2026 general and presidential election, how crucial it is for the single vote and how important it is to observe peace and harmony between and amongst Gambia, in as much as it is their inalienable right to make a choice of political party, choice of candidacy for the elections, but how important it is to maintain a peace and stability going forward if we ought to serve as pillars for national and continental unity. Speak one of your favorite.
I want to remind Gambians. I want you to speak
vernacular or so. Yeah, do this one.
You want to speak me to? You want me to speak? Okay, all right. Let me try. So ma fatali ndawi deka bi rek ne ñun ñep ben lañ. Gambia fu mu nekk ni nekkatut deka dafa mel ni community la pour ñëpp te ñun ñëpp benn lañ buñ nangu politique yaaxal ñu suñ soxla li fi amoon démba buñ mu amaat fi tey bu gën a ñëpp nekk benn ñëpp ñu understand ne sa right la pour nga vote keneen tamit right am la pour mu vote sa right la pour nga choose political party wala ki nga votal keneen tamit right am la pour mu choose political party ak ki moo votal taxut ñu war a xeex taxut ñu war a xuloo nañ wàññi jote bi because ñun ñëpp gis nañ ne jote boobu noonu daf ñu dee indil lu bëree bëri daf ñu dee jural problème yu bëri suñ biir kër yi gis nañ fi kër yi nga xam ne benn kër la woon dañ mujjee jël fence def ko seen diggante yëpp ngir politique famille bi xaajoo njaboot bi xaaj loolu dafa nekk li nga xam ne bëggatuñ koo gis biir Gambia ñaaw na trop te ñu ngi ñaan bépp Gambian pour ñu génn 2026 election bi ñu vote because vote booy vote noonu sa right la vote booy vote noonu moo laa taxaw for the next 5 years mooy seet moo laa taxaw daal for the next 5 years because mooy determine kan mooy nekk sa président wala in 2027 soo voté mooy determine kan mooy nekk sa National Assembly member kon war nañu ñun ñëpp ñu vote ñu ngee saaku ñëpp ñu génn si ñu vote seen high numbers politique bu ñu def ko si jaama because jaama fa la lépp xëcc te Gambia ñun dañu yàgga xamee smiling coast of Africa because dañ am jaama dañ bëri jaama amuñ fitna ñun ñëpp doon nañ benn kër boo dugga mun nga faa naan kër boo dugga mun nga faa lekka aada boobu noonu lañ bugg a continuer te loolu lañ bugg a politique bi dem bàyyi ko fii loolu lañ bugg a politique bi ñëwaat fekkaat ko fii so ñu ngi ñaan ñëpp ñu jël suñ vote si suñ voters card si su time jotee ñu dem uti suñ voters card téye ko waxtu vote su jotee ñun ñëpp ñu dem vote sandi karta ñëwaat si jaama ku war a wiin dina wiin wante dangaa try nga def yow tamit loo mun parce que doon doomi réew si loolu la bokka doomi réew bokka na si nga jóg nga vote time bu jot dem uti voters card nga uti sa voters card ñëw so ñun ñëpp nañ try suñ kéemtalaay kattan ñu génn si suñ laaj number si ñu vote parce que si noonu la ñoo mun a déterminer next 5 years Gambia lan la moo niroo jërëjëf.
That's a great one, DF. You've done that on the national level. There are Liberians following you right now, this conversation. There are South Africans and Guineans, Senegalese following this conversation. Africans from all walks of life are following you right now. So I want you to replicate this very message that you did in the vernacular for young people across the region and most importantly across the African continent, how important it is for their involvement in the decision-making processes of their respective nations, their communities, and so to speak, as well as the continent of Africa, how important young people's involvement, how crucial it should be.
Young people's involvement is very, very important in shaping Africa's generation, next generation or Africa's future. And I've said it here, and statistics also shows that young people form more than half of Africa's population. And Africa's success is up to us. It's in our hands right now. We are going to determine what Africa is going to look like in the next 15 years. That is definitely up to us. And as young people, we must participate in decision-making processes. Decision-making processes is not just about voting. It's also about voting for the right person. It's looking into these manifestos, ensuring that it represents you. It's convincing the next person sitting next to you. Convincing them to vote is convincing our family members, ensuring that everybody votes, but also respecting that our decisions may not be the same. So we vote peacefully, we participate peacefully in decision-making processes, but also towards the building of Africa and Africa's lineage. Africa's future is definitely up to us, and I urge every young person to take this responsibility seriously to ensure that our future is safeguarded, but also the future of the next generation is also safeguarded. Thank you.
Very beautiful from you. It's a very beautiful experience having on this platform here tonight.
Thank you.
To young people under the sound of our voices here tonight, I want to say a massive salute to you for your viewership, your comments and analysis about the Pan-African Drive. Remember, this is a platform that is meant to build bridges between and amongst the nations of the African continent. And the quotation of the night says, a snake does not make the choice as to what its venom will be like. It comes naturally. Young people must rise from the state of dormancy and become the drivers of their own destiny. We must remain the pillars for national and continental development. Remember, no nation has a right to discuss economic growth in the absence of political stability. We must be able to revive our continent because this is our time. There is no second time to correct a wrong first impression. Wake up from wherever you are and become better than never before. I wish you a pre-Christmas and happy prosperous 2026. Wishing you God's immeasurable blessings and prosperity in every department of your life. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram on the Pan-African Drive on Teledar TV, your best online platform, not just in the Gambia, but by extension, the rest of the African continent where education information and entertainment remain very core on our agenda. It's a beautiful experience with you. I remain Tony Michael Howard. It's been beautiful with for Satan Mamo Dumaya as my passenger tonight on the Pan-African Drive. Thank you. If you like, follow us.